The largest pot ever played on televised poker just went down on the Hustler Casino live stream. It was between Tom Dwan and Wesley, a regular on the Hustler live stream. It was an insane pot, and there was an unorthodox moment within the hand, which I want to break down. I'm going to give my analysis as we watch the clip together, so let's just get into it. So the game right now is being played at 501k with a 3k big blind ante. This current hand has a 2k straddle, and there's a stand-up game being played. So Wesley actually has his button already, so he doesn't need to win a pot in order to sit down. I say sit down in quotations because Hustler Casino does it a little different, where they give you a button if you successfully win a pot instead of sitting down like the stand-up game. So Wesley has his button already. Tom does not. That could play in some dynamic as well, as we're going to watch. This is how the hand plays out.
I saw your hand.
So right away you hear Doug say, "I saw your hands." You don't really know who it's in reference to yet because we can't really see what the camera is looking at.
Saw someone's hand?
7.
I saw Wesley's hand.
5,000 players.
So Doug says that he saw Wesley's hand. It must have been when Wesley was peeling or something. He might have peeled too high. And there's already been action before Doug saw his hand. So Hank raises to 7k. Like I said, there is a straddle on for 2k, so a 7k raise, pretty standard. And he's doing it with ace-8 offsuit. Wesley is on the button against the hijack, so a very standard spot to 3-bet, especially with all of the crazy incentives going on right now to win pots. Hank doesn't have his button, very standard spot to 3-bet.
Fine. I haven't looked at my hand. I know what you have. So weird.
So Doug is making it very clear to Wesley that he knows what he had. And you'll see later in the hand why this is very relevant, but it does play out to be in favor of Tom thinking that Wesley doesn't have a great hand here, because it looks like Doug is saying, like, don't 3-bet, I know what you have, which is how Tom perceives it later in the hand.
Spot?
30.
I'm just gonna...
Well, if you're gonna play, then...
That being said, it's really weird for Doug to be in this scenario because he kind of has to tell Wesley that he saw his hand and then he folds. So that is some information that you normally wouldn't get in any other typical game.
Oh, switch.
He already did.
And then Wesley gives him the hand to sweat.
What?
Sorry.
30 to go right now.
Yep.
I only won.
I know. You know what? Thank you. You know what? You make a good point.
It's not too out of line to sweat someone's hand in these games. It happens all the time at high stakes. People love to sweat other people's hands. Nothing really to think much about it other than the fact that Doug saw the hand before Wesley showed it to him, and Wesley just decided to show it to him again. And now it gets
raise
to Tom.
from Hank, a 3-bet from Wesley.
How funny would it be if Doug's like, I know Wesley's hand, and then he's like, I haven't looked, and he just mucks.
You can't see Tom's cards for most of the
Don't
hand,
know what
which
Dwan
actually
has,
made it
but
very interesting.
Dwan, who just got bluffed. Is going to 4-bet.
You're paying 42K.
So Dwan comes in with a 4-bet for 100k. Wesley made it 30 with his 3-bet, which was on the larger side, but it's totally fine. They're playing a very deep game right now. And Tom's 4-bets also fine. Could even go larger, you could argue, but totally within the realm of what I think a solver would choose, large-ish sizing. Again, they're 1.4 million deep at this point. So yeah, very deep stack poker going on.
The yellow card? Never lost it. How about Rob? Nice.
Rob, do you have a button?
No.
Do you have one?
No. Okay. No.
Oh. 3 people left.
Very casual, you know,
Now this
showing
hand is
cards all
weird
over
for
the
a couple of
place
reasons.
you know, a insanely deep $1 million game. It is a bit odd that he just showed the camera his hand after saying, you know, like it was weird, right?
One, we're playing stand-up game.
I don't
Two,
know what that was about.
the whole thing with Doug Polk saying, "I saw your hand." So a 3-bet from Wesley to 30,000. Tom Dwan, who according to DGAF earlier has been playing a pretty low variant style, has decided to 4-bet to 100,000, and these players are deep. And Doug is watching because he knows what Wesley has, and Wesley has just 5-bet.
So Wesley comes in with the 5-bet to 275. Again, probably totally fine. They're super deep. This is going to be a spot where you can have a 5-bet range. It's mostly going to be something like aces. I don't know exactly what the solver would choose here for a 5-bet in this game. There's a lot of variables going on, but I don't think ace-king offsuit is a terrible hand to 5-bet. I think in position, I would lean more towards calling the 4-bet personally, but yeah, I think a 5-bet would maybe be better with a suited ace, something like ace-8 suited, ace-5 suited, ace-4 suited, something that can flop more equity than an offsuit combo, because this deep, you really are looking to flop hands that can make the nuts. So suited aces, also blocking aces is a very good candidate for that. And ace-king does just play really well in position against a 4-bet. So I would typically lean towards calling here, but I don't hate the 5-bet here.
To 275,000. Action back over to Dwan.
So Dwan goes into the tank for a little while here. I'm not entirely sure what's going through his head, but I think what I was mentioning earlier about Doug's comments
$387,000 in the pot. It's 175 for Dwan to call. Again, we don't know what Dwan has.
I think those comments were replaying in his head now.
Big blind. Takes a minute and a half.
Min-raises.
So I was watching this live. I didn't know exactly what he had, but the way he was taking his time, I still didn't think aces were out of the question because Tom typically just takes a lot of time in the really big pots. So I don't think there's any real reads that you can gather at this point from Tom's position.
Yeah, they were using their shot clocks.
The point was, even with the shot clock, they were just.
It does look like he's kind of, you know,
they're like
contemplating.
Dwan on the left side of your screen, Wesley on the right side.
Not like excited to play the hand, but there's no real read that I can gather at this point.
And there's the call from Dwan. If you're not watching, come back to your screen right now. Over $500,000 in the pot. We haven't seen a flop yet.
Well, the million was a reaction too, wasn't it? I played a million in my
8-8.
So flop comes 8-8-3. This is a great texture for aces or kings. However, there is some combos of something like 7-8 suited within a 4-betting range. The problem is Wesley 5-bet here. And like I was saying, if Wesley was going to have some 5-bet bluffs, I would have rather seen something like ace-8 suited or ace-5 suited or ace-4 suited. So it's possible that Wesley could flop trips in this scenario if he did in fact 5-bet ace-8 suited.
8-3, 2 diamonds out there. Wesley does have the ace of diamonds.
Or if he got aggressive with a hand like 8-7 suited, it's not too crazy to think that that's possible. Checks as he's going to probably
Dwan
just
started the
check his
hand
range.
with about 1.5 million. Wesley has him covered.
Oh, you know what they should do? They should just. Those guys are good.
Never leave the poker room.
You know what they should do? They should just play like businessmen and amateurs or in pros separately all the way down to final table each, and then combined at like 2 tables and redraw and they play it out.
Imagine being in a $1 million potential pot, and Nick Airball is just yelling in your ear on the right.
About 125.
It's tilting me a
Wesley
little
just
bit
asked
watching
Dwan
him.
how much he had behind, and that got the whole table quiet.
Yeah, I think they quieted up after everyone realized they were in a huge pot. So kudos to Nick for not talking anymore. Wesley, it takes a while to make this bet. I don't really think there's much again of a read here. I think he'd probably take his time, whether he had aces or a bluff. But it is important to note that a lot of his value hands are basically aces.
Wesley bets
Kings,
125,000.
maybe. Kings are probably still in his range too. And again, like I said, he might have some like ace 5, ace 4, ace 8 as his 5
Whatever
bet bluffs,
Dwan
maybe
called
ace
with
10, ace
pre-flop,
jack.
I can't imagine him folding on an 8-8-3 board to a
Wesley goes with a
$125,000 bet.
125K bet into approximately 560. Pretty standard size, I think. I actually like that Wesley has the ace of diamonds in his hand here because Dwan can have ace king suited in his range, so that removes some combos of ace king of diamonds for Dwan. If Wesley had something like the ace of spades or the
Here's
ace
the call
of
from
clubs
Dwan.
in his hand, it would make a
Pot
big
now,
difference.
812,000. Dwan with about 1.1 million behind.
Turn is basically a complete brick. I don't think either player is going to
Turn
have
a
pocket
blank.
fives. Maybe ace 5 suited. It reduces the combos of that, if anything. Less likely that Wesley will have ace 5 suited. For both players. I don't know if Tom would have ace 5 suited for 4-bet and then calling a 5-bet. But
Wesley's hands are
conceivable.
shaking. And it looks like he is loading up for another bet.
So at this point, Wes puts in.
Remember, Doug Polk knows what
350
Wesley has.
into approximately 8. Fairly
Tom
good
Dwan,
sizing, I
though,
think,
does
because
not.
he's setting up a shove on river. If Tom calls here, Wesley will be about a half pot bet left behind that he can shove the river. So I like the sizing. It's fairly polarizing. At this point, he is, in fact, repping aces.
350,000 over to Dwan.
Or
Pot
an
has got
8.
1.2
He
million
somehow
in
has
it.
an 8. So at this point, Tom does look pained. I don't know if it's an act or if he's genuinely like, okay, this is a hard spot now. But I really thought it was interesting how he didn't seem to be hiding his emotion. Whether he balances that emotion, I would have no idea. But I am getting pained face from this scenario from Tom. But again, I think he's really good at taking his time in really big pots. The interesting thing about that face is that it could be, should I shove now or should I call? So I don't think this eliminates really strong hands from Tom's range, like aces. I think Tom could have been contemplating shoving because Wesley has the ace of diamonds and we don't know what Tom has yet. Tom could easily have 2 black aces in his range, which would probably want to shove on turn at a frequency because there's a lot of bad rivers. A diamond, a 4 if Wesley is 4-betting, 5-betting 6-7 suited or something like that. Some of the suited connectors in his range, there's some straights that can come on river. But yeah, so I think pocket aces at some frequency might want to shove the turn. Or if he had something that wants more protection like queens or kings, it's possible he could have the idea of shoving turn. So I don't think that this pained like act is necessarily weak. I think it's him trying to decide what he wants to do on the turn most of the time. It's
The table
obviously a
has not
gross
been
spot.
this quiet for 4 days. 1.2 million in there already. If Dwan calls this, we'll have one of the biggest pots we've ever seen, and still a river to come. And
So
there's
he
the
makes
call. The river's a 6.
So the river is pretty much a brick. I don't think Wesley's gonna have 9-7 suited for 5 betting. But you never know. Sometimes sometimes these players can really do out of line things. But for the most part, I just don't think that 6 is really going to be something to consider within the range that Tom is going to call with. Maybe it takes some combos of like 6-5 suited out of either player's range. But yeah, overall, I don't think the 6 is too impactful
Wesley with just ace high.
to each other's decisions.
Check.
Dwan checks it one more time. There's the all in.
So Wesley says all in. Pretty sick spot, you know. You kind of are repping aces at this point. You 5-bet pre, you bet the flop, and yeah, you're all in. I think the solver would really not want to have the ace of diamonds if possible. But the next best hand is ace king offsuit if you are going to 5-bet that pre-flop, because you're unblocking the suited kings at least. But having the ace of diamonds really bad for bluffing, because like I said earlier, Tom can have hands like ace king suited of diamonds, ace 5 suited of diamonds. You want Tom to have those weak hands, so you don't want to have the diamond if you're bluffing. You want to have the spade or the club. Specifically on this board texture, the club would be much better than the spade, because again, I think Tom has some floats with like suited aces of spades, like ace king of spades, ace 5 of spades maybe, which might actually have to make a huge call. I don't know. But yeah, so I think the ace king of diamonds, or ace king with the ace of diamonds, isn't the ideal hand to bluff, but it's better than bluffing ace king of diamonds at least. And you're not going to have too many hands you're really happy bluffing here, other than I think ace king of spades or ace king of hearts, if that's in your range, because you're at least blocking pocket aces, which is a big part of Tom's snap calls. If Tom has aces, he's never folding. If he has kings, I don't know if he's ever folding. So a great bluff candidate is ace king. But that's why I don't mind Wesley bluffing ace king here with the diamond in this scenario, because Tom's calling range is just mostly going to be aces and kings after the action that went down. I think queens is going to possibly be indifference, but it's really hard to tell when the game is this deep. Queens might even just be a pure fold. So let's continue watching here.
He said all in.
For sure? What is?
Said all in.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna get a water.
So Tom just literally gets up and gets the water in the middle of the hand. Pretty sick spot.
Pot has got
Wesley just
2.3
puts his
million
hands
in
his
there.
head.
Wesley is just triple barreled with ace.
I don't love this. I don't love it. I don't love that he puts his hand in his head, or his head in his hands. I don't know. Tom is probably going to get some kind of read from this action. I personally don't know what it would represent. I don't want to be biased because obviously I can see his cards. So maybe this gives Tom any information, and giving Tom any information other than just trying to remain stone faced and not give away anything You know, that's tough. It's tough against Tom because Tom is a very good live poker player, has
king.
played forever, has really good live reads. So I'd be afraid of changing my, you know, position at the table at all.
Doug saw his hand.
So this is where Tom starts thinking about how Doug saw his hand and what happened earlier. So when I mentioned Doug saw his hand and he acted the way he did, Tom picked up on that and thought, in my opinion, that Wesley was actually weak because Doug almost made it as if he didn't want Wesley to 3-bet because he saw that Wesley had a potentially weak hand in, you know, the eyes of other people at the table. And that's why I think Tom starts to go down this.
Hand.
He starts to go down this speech.
Doug saw his hand, tried to talk him out of 3-betting. He 3-bet anyway.
This is what I was talking about, where Tom says 3-bet him anyway, kind of, you know, saying like, yeah, Doug saw his hand and said, no, like, don't do it.
I mean, I guess he just flopped an 8, but it seems very hard to fold.
So it might be weird that Tom goes directly to having an 8 because aces and kings are typically the hands you would think, right? But like I said, I think at this point, Tom gave Wesley a weak hand for 5-betting pre-flop. He thought that queens, which we will see in a second, was the best hand pre-flop.
I'm gonna feel dumb when you roll over like 8-7 suited or some shit. Maybe 9-7 suited.
I think 9-7 suited is a bit of a reach, but it's interesting that he, you know, includes that in Wesley's range.
Tom Dwan has been part of some of the biggest hands in poker history, and once again, he is here on our stage. Just under 800,000 to call. We've got 2.3 million in the pot.
I like how Doug is just trying to remain stone-faced since he saw Wesley's hand.
It just doesn't seem like you have aces. I'm gonna feel dumb if you do.
So again, Tom's fixated on the fact that he doesn't think Wesley has aces.
From everything Dwan is saying, it sounds like he has kings.
What the fuck?
Look at the size of that pot.
What the fuck? Feels like you just flopped the fucking trips.
So again, he's just stuck on the polarized nature of the 5-bet range pre-flop.
But
Which is actually, you know, really, I think a lot of players wouldn't recognize that an 8 is possible in Wesley's range if he is 5-betting ace-8 suited.
Five bets pre-flop. Wesley bet the flop,
This
bet
picture
the
of Doug
turn,
just
and has
staring
moved
at the
all in
dealer
on the
and
river. We've
Wesley
got
putting his head
2.3
down.
million in there.
It's crazy.
feels like you just flopped the fucking trips, huh?
He's got queens.
So yeah, Tom does have queens.
There's the call.
Hey, call?
Tom Dwan has just won the biggest pot in the history of televised poker. $3.1 million to Tom Dwan.
This is 1.5 and change. Holy shit.
Good effort, Wesley.
Wesley.
40.
You're champion.
Yeah. So that was the end of the hand. Pretty insane. Again, I think a big part of why Tom called river was his read on the pre-flop game. He goes on to say in this video that he thought queens were the best hand pre-flop. And that would be indicated by the way that Doug reacted towards seeing Wesley's cards. And it's just a shame that the hand happened to go down that way, because it almost feels like that had a huge impact on Tom's decision, as he does mention later on as well that the pre-flop action had a big impact on what he decided to do. So if you guys think that Tom was impacted by all of the shenanigans before the hand played out, let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think of Wesley's bluff? Do you think it was a good bluff? Do you think Tom had a good call? Really curious to hear what everyone else thought. All right, guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.